sponsored by Shop G&O for the following season, everybody. Make sure you're checking out their brand new website launching on the 5th of May. If you sign up and become part of the members club, it's a £25 membership club, absolutely free, everybody. You can only get it through one Leeds. Competitive rates across the site as well. Better than Amazon, Vinted, and eBay. Make sure you check out Shop G&O. It is an e-commerce site which is tailored for all of your needs. Also, everybody, we are sponsored by Job Match Group. Talking about tailoring, make sure you check out this. It's got very specific job needs tailored to all of your every single needs. Make sure you check it out, everybody. Launching on the 6th of May. Well worth it. Finally, we're sponsored by the lads at Match Bingo. £2 per card, £5 for the price of 4. Get involved every match day, everybody. The QR code is in the corner. And let's get into the show, shall we? Well. Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all doing fantastically well. My name is Conor McGilligan. This is One Leeds. And, of course, the staple of your morning, evening, and night, the rumour mill. What is going on in your world, everybody? Normally, we come to you every single morning, but this time, God, I've been a busy bee. So apologies, but here we are. It's now on what time we're on. It's 6:08 GMT, and we're back here discussing rumours at this ungodly hour. Let us know in the comment section below what you think on all of these rumours, all of these links, all of these transfers. And by God, the transfer window opens on the 1st of June. And aren't we excited for that, of course? It's only days away, and you're expecting some of these rumours to come to the fore. What's going on, everybody? How are you? You all right? Have you had a good day, or have you had a good start to your day? I know there's loads of you flipping everywhere. We've got Canadians, we've got Japanese, we've got people from Kathmandu, Cambodia. What's going on? Let us know in the communication section below, of course. Discourse, debate, discussion. This is the rumour mill, not the consolidation mill, not the confirmation mill, not the ITK mill. None of that stuff, everybody. We just like to discuss rumours and if these players would fit into our fantastic football club. Chris Richmond in the building. Who do you think Leeds' first signing is? Chris, straight on the money there. Hi, Chris. What's going on, mate? Damn right, it's One Leeds. Yes, right, Barry. Always see you in here all the time, mate. Evening, Con. How are you, James? I'm good, buddy. Thank you so much. All Leeds, aren't we? What's going on, Riley? How's it going from across the pond? Evening, easy teasy, bingo bongo. That's right, everybody. Bingo bongo. Check out our sponsors, everybody. They're going to be with us for the following season. We've got interactive bits as well, but Shop G&O, my goodness, we've got Leeds United booklets. Leeds United from the day of promotion. There's an absolute booklet that has been designed by one of the Shop G&O designers. It's fantastic from the promotion day. We are picking out, I think it's 5 people from everybody who signs up to Shop G&O's membership. Listen, which is 25 quid through my affiliate link, absolutely free. It's an e-commerce site. You sign up for that. As once again, I'll say, everybody, absolutely free. And you get in with a chance of winning this fantastic promotion day booklet. Well worth it, everybody. We're doing prizes every single month, so make sure you're checking that out. Job Match Group, and of course, Match Bingo. I'm going to make a quick cup of good lad, Baz. I've got one here as well, mate. James says, good day from Adelaide. Con, just got back from London after supporting the lads on the weekend. Congratulations, of course, mate. Gary, well, Connor, how are things from Ireland? You at the game at the Aviva. Okay, so let's start there, Gaz, shall we? I am going to Dublin. I've booked my ticket on my membership, obviously got the pre-sale, and meeting some American friends over there as well. Well, Leeds United-based people who are in the Tampa Bay region. If you guys don't know, I did go over to Tampa Bay and met a lot of fantastic people out there. And some of my friends are coming and meeting us in Dublin, which should be great. The problem is, everybody, I can't afford Dublin. I'm sick of Dublin. Why is Dublin so expensive? Normally, I go to Dublin, and I've been to Dublin about 10 times in my life. But now, obviously, with the prices, my God, it is outrageous. It is like going away with a family of 4 for a week in Fuerteventura to go to Dublin for 2 nights. So I'm struggling. I have to be honest with you. I might have to go and come back the same day, which is painful. But if you don't know, everybody, on the 9th of August, Leeds United are playing AC Milan at the fantastic Aviva Stadium. Leeds AC Milan, Don Matteo scored what a great goal. Yeah, it's going to be unbelievable. They're doing the promo for it already. We've seen Gary Kelly out there as well with some AC Milan legend as well. And it's going to be an incredible time. I was going to, if I'm being honest with you guys, I was going to go over to Stockholm to the Man United game, but I thought, listen, this is crystallised. Dublin, 52,000, because that's what it'll be. 52,000 Leeds fans. That's what it'll be. There'll be well, there might be 1,000 AC Milan fans out there, but they don't travel like, obviously, the English do and just Leeds United do in general for away games, which it kind of is, obviously, for a lot of us. So, yeah, it's good, but it's going to be a mental 3 p.m. kickoff. It's going to be outrageous. I'm really looking forward to it. I absolutely love them out there. Proper Leeds fans out in Ireland as well. I was out with the Camden boys last time out as well. It was fantastic. But yes, I'm out there, but I might have to come back on the day, which is rubbish, but it saves me probably about 300 quid. So, yeah, fly to Belfast and 1.5 hours on the bus. Not a bad shout, mate. Not a bad shout. Am I that committed? Trying out of Liverpool, lads. See, if you guys can let me know, if any of you can let me know a way of getting over there and actually being able to stay over so I can communicate with you guys and be there and we can have, can have a coffee or whatever. We can do a bit of content. I'd be more than happy to do that. It's just, I can't actually afford Dublin. It's like ridiculous. Love to bump into you at the Milan game, Con. 100%, mate. I'll definitely see you there. Jamie says prices for flights Leeds to Dublin are ridiculous, mate. Even where I'm at, the dark side of the Pennines, I thought this would mean that I get cheaper prices. Apparently not. Apparently not. Every other day is fine, but not like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. My God. Neil says, well, where the hell do you get all the energy from? You are absolutely fantastic, mate. Well done. Thanks, Neil. I basically sit here, Neil, and I'm like, I have a cup of tea from my Yorkshire cup, and I think, right, these might have had a bad day today. Even if I have had a rubbish day, not had the great, I'll be honest, Neil, not had the best couple of months, mate, but I'll think to myself, let's go. And do you know what I mean? It's all about a bit of escapism, these streams as well. So thanks so much, mate. I really appreciate that. Is Firpo going to AC Milan? Camp out, Connor. It's a good shout. 3 hour one ferry from Holyhead. Yeah, not a bad shout. Ask Jer to put you up. I would be meeting with Jer and Daz and Dillo, I'm sure, out there. Yeah. But yeah, Daz, Jer, Dillo. Yeah, if you want it, you lads, come on. Do a lad a favour. No, we'll move on anyway. Let's go. Gabe, that is definitely not the answer. Do not answer to Gabe in the comment section below. Nobody ever think that is the answer, Gabe. We're just getting a little bit of an insight into your brain now. Let's move on, I should say, to the rumours of the day, shall we, everybody? That was a nice little bit of housekeeping, wasn't it? Daniel Peretz. Who is that, Connor? It's an Israeli teammate of Manor Solomon, a goalkeeper who plays for Bayern Munich now. There has been a development with Mr. Daniel Peretz. Now, earlier on, I was speaking in the last couple of days about Peretz being a target for Leeds. Apparently, according to communications over there and communications this side of things, Leeds United have been in talks with the goalkeeper. And a big presence, leader from the back, a lot of really good communication from the Bayern side of things. Thomas Tuchel highly rated him when he was over there. And apparently he's a big target for Leeds United, literally. So Builder reporting today that apparently it is between Leeds United and PSV for the signature of the big man in net. However, slight issue, and I want to bring this to you. I want to bring this to the party. He only wants a loan. So isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Now, we are looking for a goalkeeper. We have had an absolute hellish run of goalkeepers from Silvestri to Weidveld to Melier to Casilla. It has been an absolute mess when it comes to Leeds United goalkeepers. Probably the only one bucking the trend is Mr. Rob Green. A lone goalkeeper is interesting. Now, the reason this is absolutely fascinating is because he doesn't want an obligation. By all the noise coming out of Germany, he wants to get ready for Bayern Munich. That is the point. He wants to be the number one keeper, regardless of for Bayern Munich. according to a report from Build this morning, normally a very reputable source. So I'm not really sure, no matter on the caliber of Peretz. Obviously, we know that he plays with Manor Solomon, who, to answer your question a little bit earlier on, I believe Manor Solomon will be Leeds United's first agreement in this window. Peretz coming in as a teammate of Manor Solomon might make that transition a little bit more seamless. But a loan signing is probably something that I'm not a massive fan of. Baz, I can see you're saying perfect, mate. I would rather bring somebody in who's, it's not that sort of archaic way of looking at it. That is, they're only Leeds and all that sort of stuff. It's not that way of thinking. However, it is very much of the mold that, I want you here committed for the project. I want you here committed to Leeds. I don't want this sort of mindset immediately that you'll be going back and you're coming out with quotes already. And not to say every loan player will do that, because Leeds need to exercise the loan market. But by God, do not be saying things like, I want to get ready for Bayern. Nonetheless, I will be coming back. I want to be the number one goalkeeper for Bayern Munich, albeit I know that's your ambition. I think that's fantastic. And that's obviously what we all have, that top level ambition when it comes to just life. But let's not go out and say that. Let's not word verbatim say that you want to go back to Bayern and be their number one goalkeeper. I'm not a massive fan of that, to be honest with you. And if that is the rhetoric coming out of his mouth, I would rather us look somewhere else, to be quite honest with you. That doesn't look like, if you're reading between the lines, there's an obligation to sign Peretz as well, if he wanted to come for the season. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think when it comes to that? It's an interesting form of conversation, isn't it, when it comes to him? We can get a little bit of his player focus up as well when it comes to Peretz and the season that he's had so far. As I say, it's not been absolutely battered with game time. I'll be brutally honest with you guys, and we're just able to get his Bundesliga minutes up here when it comes to Bayern. Obviously, Leeds United, according to many sources this morning, have a very high interest and are actually in talks with Peretz's camp. So, yeah, It's and as you can see, that's what we're going to go on to next. But when it comes to Peretz, I don't know, 24 years of age, great. Leeds seem to be the only interested club right now. PSV are just murmuring in the background. As I said, apparently Leeds are in talks with his camp. Not 100% sure about that one, everybody. Not 100% sure, but let me know what you think in the comment section below. Blinky says, I don't mind a goalkeeper. It's not really about that, Blinky. I'll be honest with you. It's more of the quotes. That quote of, I want to be Bayern's number one keeper, that is my goal. I kind of want someone who's there for the Leeds United project. I kind of want the Emi Martinez at Aston Villa. I want someone of that quality, if we can, to be able to be there with Leeds United for the foreseeable, potentially into Europe, maybe going a little bit further on down the line, but to progress with the club. A bit of a leader from the back, not someone who's already looking in the Bayern Munich rear mirror. The Bundesliga, yes, indeed. Solomon is the only player Farke has brought in. Move on, Con. Spot on. Cheers, RB. Always see you in here, buddy. We need a permanent keeper, says Tom Goodall. We can patch up the other areas of the pitch, but I think we need a permanent. I'd kind of agree with that, mate. James says we need someone who's proud to play for the club as well. Johnny says Hermansen out of our reach. Get Velas in, mate. Yeah, not bad. Not a bad shout whatsoever, mate. Very, very aware of him. Not a bad shout at all. I see your point, actually, about commitment. Riley says, we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We're not a training ground for someone else to get ready. Yeah, and I'm not saying it's look, I've set my heart on David Soria. You guys know that. I've done a little bit of my 6 picks. I'm going to do another replacement. Not replacement as such, but where Leeds can add to in terms of the defence, the midfield, and the striker. They're videos that are coming very, very soon, everybody, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. But yeah, I've spoken about players that I want, and I feel like you kind of want people who are committed to the cause. Anyway, let's move on. Okay, let's move on to, you can see there on the transfer centre, Nikola Krstovic. Now, you will see the Montenegrin flag there, the proud Montenegrin flag. But what we couldn't do on the data pack is find the team. Now, that is because it is Leece in Serie A. And Krstovic is apparently Leeds United are once again in conversations with his camp. Krstovic has been absolutely flying this season. We've been speaking about our striker having top-level experience, our striker being the profile of which can enhance Leeds United in the Premier League, not just when it comes to goals, not just when it comes to assists, but when it comes to the fundamentals that are going to get Leeds in a perfect stance when it comes to transition, that are going to aid Leeds when it comes to the counter-attack, that are going to aid Leeds when it comes to set pieces. Well, this boy has got all of the hallmarks of that. Nikola Krstovic, reports in Europe are suggesting that Leeds United once again are in contact with his camp. 11 goals in Serie A in 37 appearances. He's got 17 goal contributions. Very much of the Pipo Inzaghi's, and reports out in Serie A. That's one for you nostalgia merchants who used to watch your Golazos. But reports in Italy are suggesting that Leeds United are one of the front runners for him, and he's been described as a front man who displays one tendency when it comes to attracting the ball and having the ball in and around his possession. It is magnetic. Anytime he's in the box, a fox in the box, you put the ball in, Krstovic will be there. So it sounds like it's a really nice potential. And let's just have another quick look at his profile again, of course, when it comes to Krstovic. But maybe it's something that Leeds United look at. Maybe it's something that we move on from. I'm not sure, but let us know in the comment section below what you guys think. And is that someone who, when it comes to the profile, and when you just have a quick look here, and we'll just move along the carousel of someone like Krstovic. Hold on a second. When it comes to Krstovic, there we go. Nikola Krstovic playing for Leece there. 11 goals, 5 assists, 37 appearances, goals per 90, 0.32, goals minutes per goal, 279 minutes played, over 3,000 as well, shot accuracy, goal conversion, and all that good stuff there. So average rating this season in Serie A has been pretty decent. So yeah, maybe, who knows, everybody, but it looks like a pretty decent addition. In due time, everybody, in due time. And are you itching to get onto that one? Don't worry, we shall. It's going to be the big one in this video, the big one, the conversation point. And I can see a lot of blades in here as well. John B says, great to meet you, Leece Blinkerfish. Your opinions are always well respected. Love that. Absolutely love that. And I will be getting guidelines in my community as well, everybody, because I've not got those yet, but we want respectful guidelines going into the Premier League, of course. Con, do you think a lot of these rooms are still agent chat? Haven't really seen any concrete stuff yet. Yes, I do. I do think there's a lot of that is agent talk. We see it every single window, don't we? It's like, let's not beat around the bush here. These aren't going to be all going to be confirmed links. There's a couple in here of which you kind of look at and you think, yeah, that makes sense. We've been there before. Oh, yeah, he was on a short list. Could be returned there again. Yes, and could that be agent links? Could that be speculative? Of course it could, but Leeds have a tendency of returning to the scene of the crime, if you will. Leece, Connor, not Leece. Yes, apologies, mate. Leece, there we go. Leece got good scouts as well. 15 mil for Gus in your dreams, Connor. Keep your hands off. What about Milinkovic Savic? He'd be classy. Yeah, decent name indeed. There's a lot of names on Hermansen as well. What happened to bringing in inexperienced players? Who's that referring to, mate? I think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've got Callum Wilson on this chat, so there's a bit of experience there. So, yeah, let us know in the comment section below regarding that, of course, everybody. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Now, I wanted to speak about Stefan Borsen. Now, we spoke about Stefan Borsen and PSR, the chat that Leeds United we had on the channel about, I think it was about 3 weeks ago now, where Borsen went on to TalkSport and he spoke absolutely candidly, but very well and very, very articulately. I know what he was very articulate. There we go. That's articulately, isn't a word, Connor? He was very articulate, I should say, about the PSR standing that Leeds United are in, that some of the prospective clubs were going to be in as well when it comes to Burnley, Sheffield United, Sunderland at the time, and that Leeds were in a very, very healthy position. Now, apparently everybody, according to Borsen, who was speaking today to a couple of outlets, he was saying that everybody is ready for Leeds United to effectively give the green light for 150 million to be spent this window. Pause on that, everybody. It's going to be an exciting one. And Borsen was saying that effectively now, when you're looking at the makeup of the Premier League, you have to spend 100 to 120 million quid. Really. And that's when Borsen was talking about the Leeds United squad. He was followed up. They asked him, is that regarding the Leeds United squad as well? Because a lot would say that this squad in particular is not ready-made for the Premier League, but there's maybe 5 or 6 players there of which you could say are going to step up. Borsen said, yeah, that is what you're going to need when it comes to depth, when it comes to players that are not only going to be brought in, but they're going to hit the ground running. And if they hit the ground running, you get decent fixtures at the beginning. And you guys can check on the second channel. I've done reasons on my second channel as to why I think all 3 promoted sides do have a likelihood of staying up. Not almost a likelihood of all 3 of them staying up, but at least dragging one of them back in. I've done a specific breakdown on that on the second channel if you guys are interested. But Borsen says 150 million Leeds targeting. They've got a lot of really good assets, of which They probably will likely move on, but it's all about the balancing act, Borson said. It's all about the balancing act. Leeds know they're going to have to sell, but it's then all about going out and sealing that output and you know, putting that money on the table when it comes to going to clubs and saying, look, let's stick this, that, and the other out there, and can we get hold of X, Y, and Z? The big thing is, and what I've always said on this channel, is you don't need to spend 28, 29, 30 million on every single player, because then you'd pick up probably about 5 players. You don't need to do that. If your recruitment is fantastic, if you are in the right ballpark, let's just have a quick look at Nottingham Forest, and let's not have a look at the 28 players that they brought in their first season. Let's not have a look at Morgan Gibbs-White. Let's not have a look at Awan Yewi. Let's not have a look at these players, of which, you know, Renan Lodi, players of that ilk that they brought in that first year, which were outstanding signings. Let's not have a look at that. But let's just have a look at the centre-back pairing right now when you're looking at Murillo, who was brought in 15 million quid. And when you look at Milenkovic as well, who was brought in for 12 million quid from Fiorentina. This is outstanding recruitment. That is outstanding recruitment, whatever you say from Nottingham Forest. They have been an absolute defensive stalwart when it comes to Nottingham Forest, and they've been a big reason as to why they've been able to keep a lot of the big teams out and a lot of the teams in the Premier League out as well. You know, when you supplement that with some of the quality that they've got going forward, but also some really decent defensively minded players as well. They've got a really good spine there, Forest, and one that you can build on when it comes to your flair players as well. So you can go out and you can get good value for money. You don't have to spend £30 million on every single player. But, you know, you look at Morgan Gibbs-White, and then you look at Matías Fernandes at Southampton, and you think, ooh, he's not absolutely exactly like Morgan Gibbs-White, a little bit more industrious, a little bit more of the number 8 as opposed to the number 10, which I think Morgan Gibbs-White comprises of more of that luxury. But I tell you what, they're not dissimilar. They're not dissimilar. So there are players like that out there for arguably better value than what Morgan Gibbs-White was for Nottingham Forest. But there are your playmakers, there are your creators out there, you know, your forward players who are more expensive, of course, in the modern era. We all know that and always have been, I guess. But you can get good players for good value, and 150 million quid, if you're to move around with that and the PSR restrictions that Leeds United have with certain players going out, which we know is going to happen, Leeds can really work this well, in my opinion. So let's move on when it comes to some other players as well, everybody. And let's move on to the man who we were just speaking about as well when it comes to Matías Fernandes. Now, the reason I keep mentioning him, I mentioned him on a video not long ago, and there has been a little bit of an update, when it's come to the Portuguese under-21. Now, his Premier League campaign, when you have a look at it, and obviously everyone will, and you know, there'll be the conversation of he's nowhere near it. Look at his numbers, and a lot of this came back. The other day. Connor is nowhere near it. You're over egging him. It's not always about that. It's not always about, you know, when you're playing for a Southampton side of which has been mired with terrible recruitment. In my opinion, a lack of continuity when it comes to on and off the pitch. You know, when you look at Wilcox, when you look at Russell Martin, when you look at a lot of things, Juric coming in, which was a terrible appointment. I kind of think you've got to put, when you bring in a young lad from Portugal who was 20, I think he was 19, 20 years old at the time from Sporting, 15 million quid, who was one of their bigger signings. You put him in a Southampton team. He's a young lad. You put him in and you expect him to perform miracles. He's done that to a certain extent, of which you've got all the big teams going, who is that? Who is that? And like I've just mentioned to you guys, when it comes to Morgan Gibbs-White, you look at someone like Matías Fernandes, got a little bit more to his game, in my opinion, from that defensive standpoint, maybe a little bit more energy, endeavour and press. But this guy's a monster, in my opinion, and will grow to be a monster. Now, the update is today there will be no cut deal from Southampton. There's been a lot of clubs, there's been a lot of rhetoric in and around the press over the last couple of days that Leeds, maybe West Ham, Villa, Everton, these clubs that are looking at him, they'll be able to get him at a cut deal because of Southampton, because of the revenue dips that are happening now when it comes to the TV money, that they might be able to get him for a decent deal. But the problem is now, these clubs, obviously with that dip when it comes to money going down in the Championship with the new laws, the big thing is now what they're considering is selling some of these players for more money so they can compensate for that lack of revenue. Fernandez is going to be part of that. They're going to take no less. Tyler Diblin, they apparently want 50 million quid for Matías Fernandez. There is going to be no cut deal. They want 25 plus. So it's whether or not Leeds can do that. Now, Sky Sports were reporting not long ago that Leeds United are willing to spend £30 million on a midfielder. Now, when you look at the midfield at Leeds United, you've got Alai Gruev, who should be moved on, in my opinion. You've got Joe Rothwell, who will not be, in my opinion, invested in again for Leeds United. And then you've got Ethan Ampadu, who has had his injury issues. And then you've got Al Tanaka, who's probably the ever-present in that midfield. But you need athleticism, you need speed in that midfield on the transition. When you're bombing on forward, you need physicality, all these buzzwords that we keep mentioning on the channel. Matías Fernandez, for me, is a profile of which mirrors a little bit of Bruno Guimaraes and a little bit of Morgan Gibbs-White. And I think he works in that Premier League with given time. Again, he's played a hell of a lot of minutes for Southampton this year, and he has been the shining light, their player of the season. And they're all having absolute kittens about him leaving. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with him. But apparently, according to multiple reports, there will not be a cut deal. Bassett says, Matías Fernandez is a decent player, but I'd like to see someone like Billing, tall, physical, versatile, experienced box crasher, and he's just won the league. Bassett, we're not getting. This is the thing, though, mate. I know there's the pull of Leeds, but we're not going out and getting one of Napoli's sort of assets out there who's just won the league. For me, I just don't think that will happen. There is the pull of the Premier League, of course, and the pull of Leeds United, but I think it's just a little bit contrasting. I think when you kind of look at that barometer and how much it swung when it came to Rafinha, we'd just come up. It was Leeds United. It was Bielsa. That was the pull, and Rennes were fourth. And I think that was probably the biggest pendulum swing we've seen really in terms of a player at such a high level coming to that, effectively a lower level. But it was to raise Rafinha's profile. He wanted to work under Bielsa. He said that in multiple interviews. And obviously Leeds are a big club, but I think the Bielsa thing helped us get the likes of Rafinha. I don't think the pendulum swing would be that much of enough to go and get a Serie A midfielder in that respect. And I can see that with McTominay. Johnny, you always say mate. I don't think that's going to happen. There was rumours about Højlund in the season on loan. Would you be interested in that? Maybe, potentially, mate. I think that would be a terrible decision from Leeds United. But we'll wait and see with that one. Okay, a lot of chat about you-know-who, and we will get onto that a little bit later on. Don't worry. Amory would be my pick. Oh, God. If you know, you know. Amory, God, or Amiri. How much were we speaking about him? Flipping heck. Super Leeds. Tom says I would splash for Fernandez. He's worth it. So calm on the ball. He's an outstanding player. He's an outstanding player, and he's young. So it's the sell-on value again. We've got to work within this as well. If Leeds are willing to spend 30 million quid, you've got to invest in future as well. And that, encompasses, now he's got the Premier League experience, which people are speaking about all the time in terms of what you want. He's got the physicality and the athleticism to mold into the Premier League. You don't just have to be a big lad. You don't just have to be a monster. You don't just have to be Arsenal style. It's just about getting across the pitch as well. As I keep mentioning, the Bruno Guimaraes mold as well. The Morgan Gibbs-White mold. It's not all about being a big burly lad. Physicality and athleticism comprises of different attributes as well. And that's exactly what he is. He's a runner. He's legs. And I think he'd really help with our midfield, especially with the likes of Al Tanaka in there and maybe a few others, hopefully, a few more signings. Okay. Spurzian. Let's move on to him. It's another one in the Leeds United repertoire. Another one of which we were speaking about, of course, in the last window, in the January window. Edouard Spurzian, obviously an Armenian lad, has done really well. Mkhitaryan's called him one of the best things to come out of Armenia ever, basically. Leeds were interested in him in January. There was talks apparently with Leeds and Spurzian as well. Obviously playing for Krasnodar, and has put up some really good numbers this season. Leeds are apparently in conversation with his camp again. Believe that or don't believe it? I don't actually believe that one personally. I just think it's quite an easy rumor to swan around. However, there's a lot of easy rumors here, isn't there, everybody? So maybe we are. Who knows? But I just feel maybe in that position we may be looking at someone else now. I'm going to let this one just marinate. And I'm going to do this thing, which I don't normally do on the channel. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to speak about some others first. So as you can see on screen, we can see Callum Wilson. Apparently Newcastle, there was a lot of conversation about Newcastle maybe going in and actually offering Callum Wilson, not a massive deal, but an extended deal. They have pulled out of this, and this will not be happening. Callum Wilson will be leaving on a free. We can see with Troy Parrott there on screen, obviously playing at AZ Alkmaar right now, doing really well. We'll just pull actually some of Parrott's his numbers up. I think that'd be a good little way of going about things. If it does pull it up, it does indeed, and he's been exceptional, the Irishman. A lot of Irish are in the chat as well. You'll be able to tell us maybe a little bit more about Troy Parrott. He's been outstanding. Irish lads and lasses in the comment section below, let us know your, I'm sure, prevalent knowledge on this lad. Irish, flying this season, bought from Tottenham obviously for around about 8 million quid, I think it was. 30 appearances, 14 goals, 2 assists, and they love him out there. You look at the minutes played as well, it's not been massive, but you know, you look at his numbers there, and he's been absolutely outstanding in the Eredivisie, and AZ Alkmaar fans love him. But apparently there is a price on his head right now of in and around 15 to 20 million quid, as you can see right there. 15 to 20 million quid. So imagine they announced Troy Parrott whilst in Dublin, says Reese. God, imagine, mate. Would you be happy with it? Let me know. Damar says, no, thank you. Wilson doesn't score goals as elite defensive stats. Don't know what you're talking about there, mate. Obviously, we're moving like the speed of light here. Ritsu Doan, Amiri is back in the national team. Where did Newcastle get Bruno from? I think it was Porto, wasn't it? Southampton want 40 million. They've upped his value. Not from what I saw, not from what I've seen today, mate. Not from what I've seen today. And I don't think they're going to get 40 million for him at all. So I don't think a lot of these sides will, and they'll know this because a lot of them will need to sell, especially with the money now with the TV revenue stuff going down a little bit. They'll need to sell some of these players, and obviously they'll have the financial restrictions from going down into the Championship and the pitfalls that comes with leading the Premier League. That's like kind of an obvious thing for me. They can't just hold out for 50 million for Tyler Dibling. They can't hold out for 40-50 million quid for Matías Fernandez. I mean, they can, but it's highly unlikely, you know, especially if some of the big boys come round, and then Matías Fernandez might start itching a little bit. He might start thinking, right, well, no, I do want to move on. I do want to play Premier League football. I do want to develop when it comes to my career. Can I give a year to Southampton? You know, am I going to do that? You know, some players do that. We've seen that with some of ours when it comes to Jorginho Rutter. But there was context there. Rutter had a poor start for Leeds United, came down with Leeds into the Championship and then evolved. You look at Dan James, was poor for Leeds in the Premier League, came down over as elevated. Same with Firpo, elevated. You look at Somerville, as elevated. Don't think he was great in the Premier League, to be honest. I think we could all say that as well. Well, when it comes to consistency at that level, he was only a young lad. Archie didn't get his chance. Glenn Kamara wasn't at the club. So there's a lot of context here. When you're Matías Fernandez and you've already set the level in the Premier League of which you've probably got 4 or 5 clubs at your disposal looking at you, I think it's a little bit different when it comes down to what he wants and what he can have, because he can go back down to Southampton, but why would you? Why? What is the upside there for him? Continuity. There's not really been that much continuity when it comes to the trickle-down effect at all at Southampton. You know, if what mid-bracket clubs looking at you in the Premier League, not just Leeds? For me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Was it Leon? Apologies, lads. Apologies. There you go. There you go. Maybe Porto's on my mind because I'm going there soon. There we go. Okay, let's have a look at some other bits. Hey, a bit off topic, but what do you think 49ers might look at a Portuguese team with Benfica links from years ago? You have to let me know, mate. You'll have to let me know what you mean by that. You have to let me know. As an Irishman, Parrott is a decent player and would be much better than Joseph. That's kind of where I'm at, mate. When it comes to Matteo Joseph, and I know there's a lot of people in the conversation here who just don't like Matteo Joseph for what? I don't know, bizarre reasons. But Troy Parrott, for me, I've mentioned this in many streams, would be a decent Championship player, much like Matteo Joseph. Matteo Joseph goes to Betis for 15 million quid and does well in La Liga. We're probably kind of looking at it then and going, yeah, Matteo Joseph was kind of always better than Troy Parrott. And I kind of see that happening, to be honest with you. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Mark says, how's it going, mate? Hi, mate. Hi, Cole. Good to see you. Good to see you. Right, let's get on to the one that I want to let marinate. And the big one today. Okay. As of 3.5 hours ago, and it sent the Leeds Twitter sphere into meltdown. Alex Crook of TalkSport. Get some stuff right, get some stuff wrong. I think he mentioned something about Hamer the last couple of years, actually, when it's come to Leeds' interest. He's been one of the first, especially last time when it came to the Peru Hamer stuff. He has said today that Leeds United are right back in the hunt for Gustavo Hamer. And also Everton's David Moyes is looking at him as well. But Leeds are right back in the hunt. We all knew this was going to happen, didn't we? We all knew that this was going to happen. So as you can see here, interested clubs, Everton, apparently they're just sort of looking in the background, but Leeds United are back with big interest in Hamer, and it makes complete sense. We were speaking the other day on the stream about us having, it's a 2-year interest now. I was speaking to a COV fan today, actually, on a Betfred shoot, and he was saying to me, yeah, there's been murmurings with Leeds and Hamer when we were at Coventry, and then obviously Sheffield United, there was the exchange of him and Peru. There was Leeds putting 13 million quid in for him, and it being rejected by Sheffield United. And his best mate is Bogle. And, and he might look at Bogle and think, look, Bogle made the right decision, technically. But I was looking at his link up, and I was looking at his link up with Bogle in the Premier League. And I have now this season, let me be transparent with you. Should Gustavo Hamer have got player of the season? In my opinion, no. I think when you look even at the likes of Dan James, numbers-wise, ridiculous. When you look at the likes of James Trafford, who I think was outstanding this season, I think there's examples, even when you just look at the likes of maybe like Altanaki, you can throw in there as well. Outstanding players at this level. I don't think he should have won the Championship Player of the Season. Do I think when we were putting him in combined 11s earlier on this season, he should have got in maybe over certain personnel at that point? I think there was a conversation. I think there's at least a discussion, at certain points when he'd be going up on that left-hand side against the likes of Manor Solomon, when Solomon was on fire. There's a conversation because we're talking about form at that moment. So yeah, I will argue Manor Solomon. Well, you don't give me credit for that, because apparently I hate Manor Solomon for whatever reason. That's just come out the blue recently. That's another spin-off thing. That's brand new. But I've argued the case on many combined 11s that Solomon should be ahead of Gustavo Hamer. And when you kind of look at the numbers as well, that backs that up. And how outstanding Solomon's been for Leeds United when you kind of look at the 2/3 and more of this season. Sheffield United, in my opinion, wouldn't have been anywhere near it if it wasn't for Gustavo Hamer. And what I will say is, when it comes to Hamer, it doesn't take away my appreciation from him as a player. If we'd have got him last summer, I'd have been very giddy. Hamer is a player of which, for me, out of every list I see, for whatever reason, maybe it's because I've seen more of him, and he's a player that is the profile, that annoying word that you guys are probably, because you're seeing me and hearing me every single day, it's probably getting a bit jarring listening to. He's the profile of player that I really like. Okay. Now, what I can tell you is Mr. Gustavo Hamer likes a drinky poo. He certainly does. And that is being confirmed to me by multiple sources, allegedly. But yeah, and there's been obviously conversations about maybe Gus just living his life and not really caring as much. I mean, he loves football. He's gifted, obviously. Someone said to me today, they went, if he didn't have that off-the-field side to his play, he'd be playing in Europe right now. That's what someone said to me today, which is quite an interesting conversation when you look at it, 'cause how many levels up could he be? But I was watching some of his highlights today with a friend of mine, and you do look at him. And when we kind of look at upgrades, which we've spoken about this season, and we look at Brendan Aronson, who in that central attacking midfield role has got 10 goal contributions. I think it's 8 goals and 2 assists, I think. I could be wrong. Gustavo Hamer got that in the Premier League with 8 less performances in the Premier League. And you just sit there and you think to yourself, would it work? Would it work? If you get this guy on a plan, I'm talking about a push, pull, split, legs, cardio, 4 days a week. I'm talking clean eating. If you want alcohol, Gus, if you want alcohol, it's tequila club soda or a vodka lime and soda once a month. Could we get the best out of this guy? Could we? He does excite me, Gustavo Hamer, because you know he's there for a moment of magic. You know he can produce it, and he produced it in the Premier League. There's a few examples of extravagant passes against Bournemouth to Jayden Bogle, a wonderful goal in his debut against Nottingham Forest, and you just in the Premier League, and you just think to yourself, would this work if we got him absolutely dialed in for a decent price? Leeds have been after him for 2 years. According to reports, we're still after him again. We've got competition, but would he be more willing to come to Leeds? It's not that far from where he is now. He's got mates who play for the club, Ampadu, Bogle. Would that work? I don't know. It does tickle my pickle, though. It does get me a little bit excited. It does, because look, he shouldn't be playing left wing, in my opinion, but you even see in the playoff final with that little sprint, which I didn't know he had that in his locker, but that little sprint and that outrageous ball to Ty Campbell through the defender's legs, 3 players on him, great touch to Ty Campbell, chips it over the keeper. He had another wonderful moment in the playoff final. Was it the year before for Cov against Luton, I think it was, where he drilled it in on the edge of the area. It's just the quality he has in big moments as well. And that is evidenced by his 10 goal contributions, obviously in the Premier League for Sheffield United. With the greatest of respect, this was a side that conceded 104 goals in the division. You would be hoping that Leeds United are going to dot a better team around him, of which we've always said on here, you dot better players with better players, then you're going to get better results. So I don't know. It does obviously depend on the fee, but guys, honestly, out of them all the time, even though I've just applied that context, even though I fought for him not to get player of the season, not to even get in my combined 11 at points, I do rate Gustavo Hamer a hell of a lot, and I can't help it. He always drags me back in, because I always think to myself, we're not going to get him. There's no point. There's going to be fitness issues anyway. The discipline issues. He's got like 11, 12 yellow cards this year. VAR, he's going to be sent off in the Premier League. That's another factor as well. But there's just something about him where I just think he'd absolutely fit with our crowd. He'd be perfect, like Bogle's been perfect from that side, and fit into our crowd. I think he'd absolutely be brilliant with Leeds United. I think he'd just synonymise with Leeds United. It would just work. And we've not had a player like him in years, a player like that in terms of being able to create those moments of magic, probably since Pablo, if we're honest, you know. So I'm sure the chat is spicy right now. I'm sure it's spicy, but yeah, there is a lot. There is a lot. Of course, Gabe's come in with the 1 goal out when it comes to Brendan Aronson. Absolutely, he's not commented, but when it's Brendan Aronson, he's always in there. Gus Hamer will be in the 3 legs every weekend. There's a pub that he was at that someone said to me in Coventry. I can't remember what pub it was called. Something Spitz, but your sources tell you he likes the sauce, of course, mate. Hamer, 36 Premier League games, 3 wins. That's Blaze Ray. That's a mad way of looking at it. Well, that means that we can chalk off Matheus Fernandes as well, because he got 12 points for Southampton, I guess. Ampadu, 3 relegations on the bounce, including going down with a very bad Sheffield United side, and Ampadu not been on the face of any wins, really. That means we shouldn't have really got him. A lot of that Leeds side got relegated, not in exactly the best vein of form, so maybe a lot of those shouldn't have been kept hold of. They're perennial losers as well for going down. Mate, we've got to apply that big C word, context, to a lot of this. As I keep mentioning, you take good players Hence why you've got like Matías Fernandez being looked at by some really good clubs at the Premier League. Hence why you've got Everton looking at the likes of Gustavo Hamer. I'm sure if he was on the market for a good value, there would be a hell of a lot of clubs looking at him. Maybe not top-end Premier League clubs, but definitely clubs in and around Europe. With Hamer and his injuries, he isn't physically good enough for the Premier League. Another flop. The thing is, when you say that when it comes to him not being good enough in the Premier League, and this is what I will say about him, to be fair, if you're getting 10 goal contributions in the Premier League, playing what? I think he played 36 games. Let's get his Premier League record up. It might show on here, actually, with Hamer. Let's have a quick look. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm just going to have a quick look at his... Where is he? There he is. Let's have a look at his player stats. So again, 17 goal contributions in 43. So he's played 43 games this season. Let's just have a look at his Premier League campaign, if we can, on the stats. I'm interested to see this if it shows up. Obviously, it doesn't because it's just this season. That's annoying. But let's just have a look at his Premier League games. Gus Hamer in the Premier League. And I'm actually interested to see how many games he played. So he played 36 games in the Premier League. 36 games, 10 goal contributions. So this is the thing. He's 27. A lot of you guys are calling for experience as well. I don't know. So you've got 43 games there, 36. That is a lot of games that he's played, albeit he does pull up quite a bit and they have to manage his minutes. Look, I'm not saying it's a gone conclusion, but to say he's not done it in the Premier League, look, we've got a lot of our players who haven't done it in the Premier League. A lot of our players who've not done it in the Premier League, you know? So, yeah. It's an interesting chat, isn't it? It's an interesting chat when it comes down to it. Of course it is. And obviously it's been mired by injury, guys. Mired by injury, and we all know that. But let's fix it with each other as well. Solomon, who's played 24 games in the Premier League, has scored 4 goals. A lot of you won't like me saying that, but that is I'm looking at it right now. That is exactly what's happened. And that was for Fulham. Obviously, for Spurs, he's only had 5 appearances. So now he's back on track. You know, hopefully we can see another year of fitness for Manon. That's obviously something we want if he's to sign for the club. But this is how hard it is in the Premier League. Hamer's had 1 season there. And he's scored as many goals already as Manor Solomon. And he's also got 6 assists off the back of it for that Sheffield United side. So there's a lot to look at. There's a lot to look at when it comes to it. Hamer reminds me of Peretz, who was at QPR, such a loose cannon, but a class. But it's not a bad comparison, that SY. It's not a bad comparison at all when it comes to Peretz. I don't know, to be fair, though, I don't know what is his attitude's like. It seems like everybody really likes him when it comes to, obviously, we know he's Bogle's best mate. Apparently he gets on very well with Ampadu as well. So it'd have been really interesting in January to know what Hamer thought about it. We obviously heard it from the Sheffield United side, you know, he doesn't want to come, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But it'd been interesting to see it from Hamer's side of things. Did he want to rock the boat? Did he actually want to come? I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall in those negotiations and those conversations. Dan says can do a lot worse than Hamer. For 2 years, he'd stabilise and do a good job. Hamer would that would also take him to 29 years of age, mate, which 27 right now. Would you kind of say that's prime? You know, prime for a player that you want at that level, someone who's done it relatively recently. I know you guys want Premier League proven players, and I do as well. I'm just not in the conversation right now of having these Prem proven players who are, Decore on who wants 160 grand a week. Players like that, you know, Vladimir Kufal, okay, wants big money again, and is he really going to give us any up value when it comes to physicality, performance? I don't think he is. When you kind of look at Hamer, you think he'll want the Premier League 100%. He won't want to just dwindle in the Championship. And fairly recently, he's done a pretty decent job up there when you're talking about that goal return. So I don't know. I think there is a lot worse. I think we need to cover ground in the Prem, and the Premiership is full of athletes. And well, Gus isn't one. I guess the combination, Donny, The big thing is, when you look at Sheffield United, I guess, who was with him and who's with him now in the Premier League? Who was with him and who's with him now? That's what I'll say. And obviously with him playing, all those minutes, he's, 36 games or whatever missed. What is that? Is that missing 2 games in the Premier League? But you got Vinny Souza right behind him, haven't you? So you are right, Donny. But those legs in behind you. So maybe that's if the were to go and get Gus Hamer, if Leeds were to go and do that, it's not that we go get Vinny Souza, but it's someone who can cover ground as well as Vinny Souza. Someone who can effectively complement someone like Gus Hamer to do what Gus Hamer can do. And you look at the players in and around him, we would hopefully bring in these quality players in and around him, up front with the greatest of respect. I think Sheffield United in that campaign might have had like Ollie McBurney, Ben Brereton, Diaz. I would be hoping, if we're actually trying to stay in the Premier League, that we would be looking at better players than that. So would that help Hamer? Would Tanaka and Hamer, that kind of gets me a bit excited. Like, why would it not? Tanaka and Hamer with a monster next to them, and obviously, we'd have to fit Ethan in there, wouldn't we? And I think Ethan covers up ground, eats up ground in that midfield as well, because I think he's developed as a player massively. But Tanaka and Hamer just gets me a little bit excited. And Tanaka does a lot of that running, doesn't he? A lot of the running. It's not to say Hamer wouldn't do that running, but yeah, it just depends what you do, doesn't it? So, yeah. If anything happens with Hamer and worst case scenario happens in the coming season, he'll definitely be a very good asset in the Championship. That's obviously a really good point as well, Fred. Worst case scenario, Leeds get relegated. You've got Gus Hamer in the Championship, who has proven for many seasons he's very good at this level and can acclimatise pretty nicely. And if not, then you've got an asset to sell on, because if Leeds went down again next season, he'd be 28. Okay. And you'd hope that you could get some good value on him. But yeah, interesting. Very, very, very fascinating. I don't know. Well, it depends, doesn't it? Depends on the fee. And we're all talking about upgrades, aren't we? Upgrades on what we've got at the minute. Can get into his local in less than an hour. Don't know what to do there. I might just take that off screen. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. Tanaka covers ground every game, and I think it will complement each other very well. Not saying physically, though. Perhaps a big presence in the midfield as well. Could be a decent midfield then. It could be as well, mate. Hamer is 28 on the 24th of June. Cheers, Tom. There you go. Tom on the birthday. So he'd be 29, I guess, wouldn't he, mate? But I still think you'd have a punt. There'd be a punt, wouldn't they? With a good diet, Hamer and Tanaka would batter Prem teams defensive. That'd kind of have to be a big thing as well, wouldn't it? It'd have to be a big thing. You kind of have to say to him, look, Gus, tequila club sodas every now and again. You know what I mean? You get those calories down, mate, like 9-10 calories. Keep that. We need you to get those legs going again, like the early days at Cov. And we'll wait and see. So, yeah. My mates, my signings so far this season would be Beto, Bijol, Raskin, KWP, and David. Sorry, I love that, Ben. Couple of good ones there. Sorry, do you know what it is, Bob? I just froze. I don't know what it was, mate. There's just something on the screen. Okay, everybody. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's 1,800 of you. How many are on YouTube right now? Let's have a look at you. We've got 1,000 of you on YouTube. Guys, if you are on Twitter, Facebook, make sure you head on over. We have a second channel. I have a second channel, and I am uploading there with regular shows, live shows as well, which are all set up on the second channel. I think we're about maybe 70 away from 5K. head on over there. There might be some juicy bits over there. If you like your general football bits, we speak about other teams as well as Leeds United. I try to stick Leeds in there every now and again if you fancy some general bits of me waffling on about other teams. Sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't. No worries. Different horses for different courses. My name's Conor McGilligan. I do the rumour mill every single day for your entertainment. I hope you're liking the graphics. I hope you're liking the videos. Thank you so much for your support. We did a Jack Harrison video a little bit earlier on if you want to check that out. Guys, I notice you all every single day. Thank you. Before you leave, hit a like on the video. It does me an absolute favour as well. Thanks so much, and I will catch you on the other side. See you in a bit. Leeds.